Research Step C, entering the conversation. So with Research Step 3, we want to create a dialogue. Research is a social process, a conversation with people who each contribute varying ideas, facts, and theories surrounding a topic. It's important for you to understand that conversation in order to take part in it yourself. By creating a conversation among your sources and yourself, you will be able to visualize the scope of your subject and the role each of your sources play. This process will help you discover how you might use each source in your own project and how your ideas and argument fit into the larger discussion. So for this, we want to put you in a scenario where you're the host of a talk show themed around the topic of your research. And select 3 or 4 of your sources to act as contestants or participants on the show. Try to choose sources that have different perspectives on your topic. Otherwise, it'll be a very boring conversation because everybody will just be agreeing with each other. And then write out 3 or 4 questions for each source. For instance, you might ask them to explain their perspective on your research topic or ask them to describe their expertise on the topic. Then, using material from the source itself, quotes, information from the publisher, or details about the author, create answers to the questions from each of your sources. As the moderator of the panel, you should pose questions to your sources and respond to their responses. So you'll go into this with your own opinion, and I'm sure you've seen talk show hosts moderate a panel before, and if you haven't, maybe take a look at one on YouTube or something like that. But you want to pose these questions and put them out there, and then see how each person would respond. And you can gauge your responses based on what you've learned from either reading your source material, information that the publishers provided you about the author, or details about the author that you might have located somewhere else. So if you know that this person is a stringent Republican conservative and you're putting them on a panel with a very liberal person, you should understand enough about their arguments and positions to be able to explain how they would talk to one another. You don't want to make them have imaginary fights or insults or anything like that, but just simply to engage in debate or respond to your questions. And then if you were in a real scenario, how would you respond back? The next part of Research Step C is acknowledging oppositions. Because at this point in your research, you should have a thorough understanding of the context around your topic and the position you want to take. To make this a well-balanced and reasoned argument, you need to consider strong and feasible oppositions to the argument you're making. Understanding and meaningfully addressing dissenting views is critical, and it's even central to the art of persuasion. If you ignore or minimize the views your audience may already hold, you risk losing the opportunity to change their thinking. Deeply engaging oppositions can shape your arguments by helping you see aspects of the issue you hadn't previously considered. So, if you go into an argument in a completely one-sided fashion, it makes you look as though you haven't done adequate research or you don't know what you're talking about because you don't know all sides of the argument. For example, abortion is off-limits. It's one of my off-limits topics, so I'll use that as an example. If you go into this paper, regardless of which side you choose, if you are pro-life or pro-choice, either way, if you pretend like the other side doesn't exist, if you pretend like there are no valid arguments on the other side, then it makes you look as though you think life exists in a vacuum and you don't see the other sides of things, and that seems very unreasonable. And it doesn't seem like you've got a well-reasoned argument, because how can you argue strongly for one thing or another if you don't understand all the different sides? So keeping that in mind, you want to follow the steps here. Recreate the following chart, which I'll scroll over to in a moment. Begin by summarizing your claim or argument. So here you just simply fill these in. You should be able to print from the e-text, write in your physical text, or photocopy it if you don't want to write in it, or just create a grid on your own. So then, using one of the sources you've found thus far, briefly describe the argument that the source is making that supports your claim. In the next cell, write a question or point of disagreement an opposing viewpoint might raise, based on what you've read in your dissenting sources. And sometimes it's difficult to think outside of your own perspective. Recreate the chart and repeat the steps using another of your sources. And this is what I mean, and this is why abortion is one of those topics that's off limits. I find that people tend to feel so strongly about things that sometimes they can't see other points of view. So hopefully the topic you've chosen, even if you don't agree with the opposing side, you can still see it and have the ability to discuss it. Next, consider how you can help these questions or concerns. What are some strategies you can use to help reduce the impact of these opposing points of view? Do you just need to acknowledge them, but claim your view outweighs them? Is there a flawed assumption or false concern in the opposition? Does the opposition usefully qualify or bring complexity to your own argument? So how will you take apart the opposing side? How will you show that while it may be a valid point, your thinking is better? What strategies do you plan to use? Once you've thought in detail about opposing viewpoints, write a reflection that considers the following questions. What do you know now about your topic that you didn't before? What are some of the flaws with both your own claims and those of your opposition? Sometimes when we start looking at the opposition, we might see some weaknesses in our own argument, and that's fine. It doesn't mean you've done anything wrong. How will you consider opposing views strengthen your argument? How will considering opposing views strengthen your argument? So you want to use those flaws that you found to fill in the gaps. And there again, just like opposing or just like acknowledging the opposition, if there is a flaw or a weakness in your own argument, it's a good idea to address that. That shows that you're cognizant of it. So then the final step, the 5 W's and 1 H. Approach your topic by posing answers to the 5 W's and 1 H questions. Who, what, where, when, why, and how. Next, you want to incorporate the strategy of cubing. Cubing allows you to come to an understanding of your topic from 6 different perspectives. Like approaching each side of a cube, each perspective will present a different point of view. Cubing is a timed exercise, much like free writing. And you'll have to do this on your own, of course. So write your topic or thesis at the top of a page, and in your case, type it. You want to give yourself 3 to 5 minutes to develop each perspective of the cube. Describe the topic, compare it, associate it, analyze it, apply it, argue it. Alternately, if you want to handwrite this, you are welcome to do so if you can scan it in and upload it as a PDF or a doc. And this is one of the few cases where I'll take a PDF. I don't know that scanning it you could do an alternate way. Next, a thought letter. Write a letter or email message about your topic to a friend or family member, explaining to them what interests you about it and what questions or problems it poses for you. This should roughly be anywhere from a half page to a page. MLA formatting, double spaced. It doesn't have to be anything huge, just kind of like a debriefing on what you've covered and what you've learned. Next, a metaphor or extended analogy. So here you want to use templates to recharge your thinking about the topic and take it in surprising directions. You're more than welcome to just type these phrases out and use them. You can cut and paste them if you can work that option as well. This topic is like blank, or this topic is like blank, but it is also like or unlike something else. If this topic were a blank, it would be like blank. So you can extend your metaphor or analogy into at least a page of single-spaced writing. So you could say, writing is like walking through tall grass. Writing is like running, but it is also like scuba diving. If writing were like driving a car, I'd have 1,000 crashes by now. Give this a shot. You can use just the templates that are there. You do not have to do a page of them. You're more than welcome to just go through these. You're welcome to upload them, but it's not required. And then you do not need to cover the conducting an interview. You also do not need to construct a questionnaire. And you do not have to submit a list of what else for me. You should keep in mind what you do not know about your topic and have that on hand to address any pressing issues that you've not covered. If you have any questions, please feel free to get in touch with me. Thank you.